Hi, welcome to Mark's Basement Arcade. Today is the day we are starting to work on the Bally 1976 Knight Rider. You can see part of the head behind me, but the rest of the head here, I found out this is so much easier to work on. I can clearly get to everything without this high side in my way. As you can see, that's pretty deep. What do we got? I have that much room where this sits in there like that. So if I take this board completely out, it just makes it so much easier to work on everything on the head now. I can just be more efficient. But today we are going to work on some score rails. You know, score rails, my favorite. So we're going to disassemble a bunch of them, get them in pieces, and then we're going to clean them, put them back together, and then move on to the next thing. Alright, so let's get ready. We're probably going to tear apart a couple of them, maybe just this bank right here of them. We'll take these apart and then I'll do the rest of the machine because you don't need to see that. And then we'll put together a couple of these and then I'll put the rest of the machine together by myself, you know, where you're not there and being bored. But first we're going to do is it has this lever here. Push this lever and that allows the whole assembly to slide right up, which is pretty cool. Very genius how they do that. This way you can work on the machine while you're in the head, where you're standing up on the head. And always pictures. I've taken these apart many times, so I think I'm just gonna take it apart. You know what I mean, Vern? We got a clip here. I have to separate everything in containers. Some's gonna get. Let's get the little tweezers. Some of them will get just hand cleaned. Others will get thrown in the ultrasonic cleaner. And the rest will just be hand cleaned or sorted. And we'll go there. Now we got 3 screws, which will be here. 3 little screws. Bally, Williams. These are all pretty much the same. Trying to keep you in the frame as much as possible. So we'll have one video tearing them apart, so you can learn how to tear them apart, and then another video series on putting them back together. Now this, we'll just pull right off like that, and that will get the Mark's Basement Arcade cleaning. Now we'll take a picture of this. What I don't like about Bally is they use these hairpin clips versus the C clips. So you get hairpin, hairpin. Yeah, I don't like those. They're just a little pain in the butt. I like the C clips better. I could put C clips on here, but I won't. These are just such a bugger to remove. I should maybe just take these and file them down real small. And we got a spring here which will come off. A spring here which comes off. Now, trying to figure out the best way to do this. Probably take the coil off. Gotta get at that coil sleeve anyways. There'll be 2 screws for that. That one's in there tight. Let's get that screw out. This comes off like that, but if we, this is the typical, yes, I love these. The screw that goes in here to hold the coil keeps you from pulling it out because you got the coil stop in there, but then you got one screw here for the switch stack that doesn't allow you to pull that out. So I'm just going to leave that like that from now on. Well, from now, plastics we will put in one container. These will all get ultrasonic cleaned. And then that. And we check all the wires. Actually gives them a decent pull. They're on there good. They break, we want them to break now. That way we can do our job on cleaning them. Let's do this too. This might make things a little easier. Actually no, because I need to move this. I may need to move this if I can't finish it soon. So we will just leave that there. I was taking out the screw for this main harness. I figured maybe I could pull it out of the way more, but I really can't because it's soldered to all these lights here. So I was thinking I was going to do myself a good favor, but actually I wasn't. So this, let's take it and put it back, and I'll just leave it out. I can put them back in later. Same thing with this one, pull that. This will come right up. Same thing, we will see if we can use this to pull the clips off. And we can't. Actually, let's just make this all a one video, because there's no use making one video taking all this apart and then making another video on putting it back together. So we'll do a one video taking these apart. Nope, we'll make one video taking them apart and showing how they go back together. No use waiting 2 weeks to see how this is done. And this should go with all Bally games. You know, they should all work exactly the same. It's a problem with having magnetized parts sometimes. They won't come off. But it's also a blessing having magnetized parts, because then you don't lose stuff. You can see how dirty these all are too. They're just dusty and cruddy. Alright, so we gotta get those screws out. Maybe you get the picture now on how these come apart. So we don't have to do a whole whole set. But I'm going to take one. These coils, well, we'll do that on when we put them back together. Doesn't make any sense to just do one now. This way we'll get it all done. And again, these screws stick right there and doesn't allow you to get the coil out. See just how dirty that is? This is almost got like a grease film to it almost. Just dirty. You notice no PCB on this one. This one has one, and there's a difference. This one, no PCB. This one had a PCB. These run around here to let the machine know where that reel is for points, because this is the tens reel. So this works with the match circuit. So we got them taken apart. I'm going to go do the rest. And then when we come back, we will be putting these two back together. Since we got one with one switch. Actually, okay, yeah, it does got the multi-stack. I just wanted to make sure we had all these switches too, so we can see how they get adjusted. So therefore, I'm going to run one screw back into here, just to hold it partially together, make my life a little easier. Like I said, if I don't get this done really quick, I have to move this whole machine. I have other work to do. So that makes it easier. So much easier for me. So we'll put one screw back in there. This way it allows me to snap these back in, get this whole thing out of my way, and I can go do something else. So when we come back, these parts will be cleaned, and we will be putting them back together. Well, I figured you might want to see how clean this liquid is. This is, I think it's Purple Power. Let me just make sure. I might as well just bring it over. This is what I use. Simple Green Pro HD. I take an empty milk gallon, wash it out real good. I put 20 ounces of this in a milk gallon, and then I top the rest off with water. So it's like that. And then we'll just put it in there. You can see how some of them are just real super nasty dirty. They're just nasty. Dirty, dirty. So we'll get them all in there. Alright, let's see how clean we got them. I think that's a giant improvement. They still need to go through, you know, a little scrubbing and stuff like that, but I believe that's a giant improvement. So let's get these cleaned off and let's start putting some score reels back together. Alright, we are back, and it's days later. But for you, it's seconds. See? I got a different shirt on. Anyways, let's probably get over here. So, as you can see, we do have the square reels cleaned, all rebuilt, all snappy. And doing their thing. We we'll get that one back in there in its home where it lives. And we will work on this one. All the square reels are exactly the same except for this one right here, which is the hundreds reel, does not have this PCB. So the only thing really will be different is this gear. For the hundreds reel, it doesn't have these tabs on it, which you will need to clean off prior to assembly, as I'm doing here. Clean. And we might as well just go with this right away too. And we'll just clean this off. It's clean, and these all went through the ultrasonic cleaner already, but I just like to go over one last little bit. So now we're going to take the buzzer and we're going to go onto all these contacts and clean them real quick. Again, this is just a cheap Harbor Freight Dremel with the actual Dremel 443 brush bit on it. And we're done with that. Next, we're going to take out one of the last screws I left in it. Get this apart. Get that screw out. I have the other screw in there. Get this out of the way. We will take this board off just because it's easier to clean. Take that screw off. Pull this board off like that. Really easy. Take your 3M green scrubby pad. I'm just going to go around and clean off these contacts real quick. Get them nice and clean like that. You just need to clean these contacts. The circle pad right here, and then each one of these around the edge. You don't need to clean anything else on it because nothing is going here. Which is nice about Bally, they labeled what all these wires are. So which is kind of nice, what they all do for the square reel. And then we're gonna block the camera and block the camera and get my naphtha, put a little bit on it. We'll go through and clean these posts off. These 3 posts are the only ones we need to worry about. You can go through here and clean up a couple other little things if you want to, if you find grease on them or whatnot. And that's about that. So now, Bally was really funny back in the day. So they're like, you cannot change our coil sleeve unless you take this one screw almost all the way out. Because the 2 screws that hold this switch stack in go through and actually block the coil from coming out. I take this one almost all the way out and then hold the coil sleeve and give it a twist, and then it comes out like that. Garbage right in the can. New coil sleeve. Twist it in there. Make sure you get underneath this screw right here. And then it will fall right back in. Put this screw back down. Every Bally I have worked on, they were all like this. It makes it harder to change the coil sleeve. And then I'll just check both switch stacks and make sure they're tight. We'll put this back down there. Well, we forgot something. A little super lube. Just a little bit on the pinky. And just go around in a circle right on there. Rub it on good. Wipe the excess off. Put that back like that. Hold it down. Take our screwdriver. That hopefully still has the screw attached to it. Put that down. Snug it down tight. And that's it. It's got a lock washer on it, so it should hold it. Now we will take all of our little pieces and put them on. These go on with the long shaft down, like that. And we're going to take our little hairpin clips, which I really hate on Bally. And I found out the best way is you get these little Harbor Freight little forceps. Grab it right on the end, like that. And you just push it back onto it. Like that. And that's how they go back on. I found out that's the best way. Otherwise, they do go flying. And you might lose one. But yeah, just take your forceps, grab it right on the very edge. Right on the very edge of the loop. Like that. And then put your piece in there. And then use that to push it on. Like so. When I grabbed it, I actually opened it up with my hand. And then you just give them a little spin just to make sure they're seated. And then that's it. And we're going to take our wheel, or gear, whatever you want to call it. Put it back on there. Make sure it's riding on the pin so that it spins around like that and moves. There's a little pin right there where my finger is. You can see it. That has to fit in the groove that's right in here. So that'd be like a cam assembly, which allows that to move. Now we will take this, which is the fun part. Getting this in there, sometimes they drop in perfectly, other times you got to fight with them a little bit. I have never found an easy way just to get them back in. Usually a little fighting, and then all of a sudden they just drop in like that. Weird, I know it. Then I will take this, slide the coil sleeve back over, and you want to get these two between the switch stack like this. And then get the coil sleeve into the hole there. See how the switches are right there? You want it like that. Now we will hold this together, get a screw. Hopefully get one started. Now I've had a couple that were stripped out on here, and then I had to nut and bolt them. And then I had some that weren't there. So I've had to replace them. But you can use 8x32 nuts and bolts or screws. They will do the job. These I'll tighten down. But when I'm actually done tightening them, I'll tighten them in the assembly like this. It just makes them easier to tighten. Now we'll put our springs on. What is always nice too is when you're done and you have the exact amount of parts left over, no extras. Trust me, some of these hairpin clips I lost on the carpet, and I was down there with them, my glasses and a magnet and a light looking for them. Now we gotta watch this switch stack here. I'm gonna try to zoom you in a little bit better. I need to flip this up on the camera. Alright. You don't watch this switch stack. You need to watch to see how these open and close. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to push this. You can see how this leaf moves a little bit when we open it, and that's what we want. And same with that one, which are perfect. So I'm just going to go and watch. Now that close that switch, and these both are still closed. Now when I hit it again, it's going to go open, open, this switch, and that bottom switch should still be open. And then one more, we'll close this switch, and leave that bottom one open. Another trick I have to do this is a piece of white paper. You can put it right behind the switches like that. You can actually see it really good now. So we will get it to right now. You'll see the bottom stack's open, the middle one is closed, top one is closed. Boom. Now you can see it closed the bottom switch, the middle switch is still closed, and the top switch is still closed. Boom. Now you can see the bottom switch is open, middle switch is open, top switch is closed, and boom. Now you can see top switch is closed, middle switch is closed, bottom switch is open. And that's what you want it to get set at. It needs to go through those 3 steps. And that is what tells the machine what digits it's on. It needs to know if it's on 1, 0, or 9. It doesn't care about any other one. Now, the square wheel, you can see it's got a tab there. That also lines up with the tab that's behind 5. You can see how right there, here, and here. That has to line up with right here. You can see how it's got the notch in the gear. It's hard to show it. Hopefully that will highlight it better. You can see there's the notch now. That will need to ride in there. And you can just move this plunger with your finger a little bit to help it get in there and seat. Now once it's locked in, you can see actually the tab right underneath my finger, how it is locked into the gear and how the gear is in unison with that. That lets it know where it's at. That indexes. Now you hold it with your thumb like that, or however you want to hold it. Put these screws back in. These you don't have to crank down. It's got to be tight because you're going into plastic. These basically just lock the gear to the square wheel. Like that. And this last one. You really don't have to hold it too much, but I don't want the gears to pop apart underneath, which on some units they do, but on Bally, this little first lever here holds the gear down, so it usually doesn't. Put your last hairpin clip in there and give this snapping. And there you go, we rebuilt the last square wheel. Always make sure your EOS switch opens and closes, as you can see it is right there. See, with that little tab, we will get to, this is your last, your 8. Now when we go to 9, that is when this switch here opens. I mean, that's when that one closes, when it's on 9. When we go to 0 is when all of them open, right there. And when we go to 1 is when all of them close. So between 1 and 8, these switches will not move. When we go to 9, you look right there, you can see it moved, 0, and then 1, and then that's it. In this unit, you will take and finagle it back into there, hold the lever up, wiggle it, push it down, make sure it locks, and then you're all set. Just make sure none of your wires are in the way of anything, pinching anything, and then there you go. You are all rebuilt. Now every single square wheel on this machine I have gone through and are done, which I hate doing square wheels. They're so finicky, and you just keep doing it over and over and over and over and over. You're just doing them over and over and over. That's why I don't like square reels. And once you do 16 of them like I did over a period of days, you will learn they are not fun to do, but they make the machine work so good when you got a clean square reel and it just spins around. It's a thing of beauty. So you only have to do it once on your machine, and then you're done. You're done for years. I mean literally years. These have probably never ever been rebuilt. So this is what, 1976? So you get them rebuilt and you're done. These will never have to be rebuilt again in the owner's lifetime. And I do have parts left over. I have one screw that was stripped out, an odd screw that was not belonging in there with a nut on it. So, like I said, I got these 8/32 nuts, which are right here. If we will focus. There you go. 8/32 nuts. And they do say square reel coil. So I remember. And these screws, which have Phillips or flathead head on them, are also, these work on Bally 8/32 by 3/8, like it says 100. And these are a square reel coil. So that's what I use on that, and then we're done. So big thumbs up and a thank you for watching, and I hope this helps you get your square reels rebuilt. Like I said, you do this once and you're done for 40 years. You should never ever have to touch them again. You don't put lube on them except for the PCB, and then that's it. And that just helps it spinning around to reduce any friction on it and keep it moving correctly. And then that's about it. So I hope this helped you. And there'll be some cool stuff right here on the screen, and swag in the description if you're interested. And sometimes I add extra things into the description depending on the machine or my afterthoughts. So I guess that's about it. Take care and please subscribe. And later.